All right, let's get right into it. A new war has just erupted in the Middle East, and we're going to break down exactly how it started, who's involved, and why this is something that's going to affect every single one of us, no matter where you are in the world.
But for me, this isn't just another headline. This story is, well, it's personal. It started with a close call that was way too real.
You know, I've covered a lot of conflicts in these explainers, but nothing has ever hit this close to home. Because until literally yesterday morning, I was in Dubai with my family, right in the heart of what was about to become a war zone.
We were staying, get this, right across the street from the Fairmont Hotel, a place that was later hit by an explosion. We left for the airport for an early morning flight, and thankfully, everything seemed totally normal. We took off, no issues. It wasn't until we were a couple of hours into the flight that we started to understand what was actually happening on the ground we had just left.
When we finally landed, the news just started flooding in. The airport we had just been at, evacuated, full of smoke, all flights canceled. We're talking drones being shot down right over the Burj Khalifa, missile parts literally raining down on the city. And the most terrifying part? Some of my family, they were on a later flight. Their flight got canceled, and right now, as I'm recording this, they're still stuck there, stranded at the airport.
So what on earth happened? How did all this chaos just erupt out of nowhere? Well, it all kicked off with a massive, coordinated military strike.
The news came through. The United States and Israel have launched a full-scale military attack on Iran. And let's be clear, this wasn't described as some small targeted strike. This was announced as the beginning of a major war.
The operation has a name, Operation Epic Fury. And according to U.S. officials, the plan is for a multi-day campaign. The goal? To completely cripple Iran's missile industry and take out its leadership. We started getting reports of bombings in major Iranian cities, places like Tehran and Esfahan.
And there was no ambiguity about their goal. A U.S. official went on the record and said, quote, "We are going to destroy their missile industry to the ground." I mean, that's about as direct as it gets.
But then came the news that just stopped everyone in their tracks. It was confirmed by Iran's own state TV. The supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, had been killed in a strike on his compound. And it wasn't just him, his daughter, his son-in-law, and his granddaughter were killed alongside him. With that one act, the entire political map of the Middle East was redrawn. Forever.
You have to understand, Iran's response wasn't just fast, it was enormous. They didn't just fire back at Israel, no, they set the entire region on fire.
They called their counterattack Operation True Promise 4, and they just unleashed a wave of missiles everywhere. We saw explosions in Dubai, a death confirmed in Abu Dhabi, smoke pouring out from near the huge Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, and a direct hit on the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. This thing had spread fast.
And the scale of this retaliation, it's just staggering. Look at this number, 27. That's how many U.S. military bases Iran's forces claim they attacked across the Middle East. This isn't just a response. It's a massive, direct challenge to America's entire military footprint in the region.
Now, you might be thinking this is a war happening far away, but its shockwaves are already hitting home for millions, especially for a country like India.
First, let's just talk about the human cost. There are over 10 million Indians living and working in these Gulf countries. These aren't just statistics. When missiles hit Dubai or Kuwait, they're landing in neighborhoods where the friends and families of millions of people live. And then there's the economy. Think of it like a lifeline. For a country like India, about half of its crude oil comes from the Gulf, and all of it has to pass through this one tiny, narrow waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. So this is where the economic nightmare scenario begins. Step 1. Iran announces they're moving to shut down the strait. If they succeed, Step 2, India's supply of over 2.5 million barrels of oil a day is immediately threatened. That leads to Step 3, fuel prices and shipping costs go through the roof. And the final step, widespread inflation that hits every single person's wallet. It's a devastating chain reaction.
Okay, so how did we even get here? I mean, how did we go from a tense but stable situation to all-out war, seemingly overnight? The timeline is short and, frankly, it's brutal.
So this whole thing didn't just come out of nowhere. It really started a few months back, with Iran's economy collapsing. That led to huge anti-government protests, which were brutally put down. We're talking over 30,000 people killed. Then in February, the U.S. starts this massive military buildup, the biggest since 2003. But here's the crazy part.
On March 1st, just one day before the attack, Oman's foreign minister says a peace deal between the US and Iran is within reach. And then, 24 hours later, a rain of bombs.
But while all that was happening on the surface, multiple news outlets started reporting on what was going on behind the scenes. And those reports allege that for months, Israel and Saudi Arabia had been heavily lobbying Washington to launch an attack against their biggest rival in the region, Iran.
And all of this really brings us to the core question, the big debate at the heart of this war. Is this really an operation for freedom, or is it about to unleash a new and maybe even more dangerous kind of chaos?
The human cost was immediate and it was horrific. We got reports from the ground in a town called Minab that a bomb hit a primary school for girls. At least 100 children were killed. And in a moment that many people pointed out as just tragically ironic, Israel's official statement to the world was simply, Israel has the right to defend itself.
You know, for a lot of analysts watching this, the whole script feels eerily familiar. Think about it. The argument for going into Iraq or Libya was to remove leaders like Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi. The promise was always freedom and democracy. But what was the actual result? Decades of chaos, civil war, and the rise of new terrorist groups. The big fear now is that we're watching a rerun of that same movie, but this time on a much, much bigger screen.
And so, that's the ultimate question we're all left with. Yes, Iran's supreme leader is gone, but at what cost? Is this war going to deliver the freedom that its planners promised? Or have they just kicked open a door to a new, terrifying era of chaos that could engulf the entire world?